Hey everybody, this is Spindle Mountain Mercantile and I am Heather. Welcome to my YouTube channel. Today I'm going to show you how I made this cute shelf sitter. That sweet little frog is a rub-on transfer from Iron Orchid Designs. He's on top of a paint inlay that is from IOD as well. Isn't it just adorable? I had no idea what I was making when I started this, so I'm going to walk you through the whole process. My dear friend Danny gave me this picture when she was purging some of her decorations. I'm not sure what I want to do with it at this time, but I know I want to put my favorite color on it. My favorite colors are blues and greens, and I love, love, love this dusk from Waverly chalk paint. I just got it at Walmart. I think you can get it pretty much anywhere. I decided to add 2 coats, and this brush isn't gonna work. That's one of my good brushes I found on Amazon. This is just a brush I found in a package of maybe 10 brushes at Walmart, and I love it. I use it a lot. It remains soft. I wash it kind of a lot, and it's a good brush. I don't use anything expensive, y'all. So I'm going to put 1 coat on right now, and then I have some rub-on transfers from IOD from last year's Merry Fairies release at Christmas, and none of them tickled my fancy. They weren't what I wanted. So I'm going to go ahead and put on the 2nd coat, and then I'll decide. As I'm putting on the 2nd coat, I know what I need to do. I decided to go with a paint inlay from IOD's Lattice Rose book. Paint inlays are a lot like transfers, except instead of ink, they use paint. So when you put the paper down on your wet paint, that paint on the paper will stay with your paint. So it's actually hand painted. I mean, you know, maybe you didn't use a brush, but same thing, right? We want to make sure that the paint side is facing the wet paint. See this grid? That grid needs to be facing you. Now when you get it wet, it's hard to see the grid. So make sure you know which side. It looks the same on both sides when it's wet. You want to get it wet first. So before you put it down, make sure you know what side goes towards the paint. Right here I'm trying to figure out exactly where I want it. I don't want it on that groove. I only want it on the very outside and the inside. So now I'm using my mister to get the inlay wet, and I wish I would have thought about lining this up top to bottom. I only lined it up side to side. It still looks great, but you know, it's just one of those things you notice when you don't do something perfect and you thought it was going to be. I don't know why I ever expect perfection. That's just really not my gig. Now I'm making sure that all of the air bubbles are gone. Now right here where I'm wiping the edge, I smeared it a little. I want to make sure that you're pressing down more and dabbing instead of like smoothing it away, because that will just push the paint. For the first cursory go over, using a brayer is amazing. It works so great. Now sometimes a brayer won't work depending on if you've like fussy cut your design, but with this square it works great. It's just any of that wet paint that's too much is gonna go down into those grooves, and I'm okay with that because those grooves are going to stay blue. All right, so I got to tell you about this right here. See that little elk? I used cheap clay with that my dear husband found on the internet, and it was awful. You guys, don't ever buy cheap clay on the internet. I'm not like a used car salesman or anything. I'm telling you though, IOD air dry clay is the best. I have not found anything that works as good as it. Now, there's some things that I'm okay with icky, clay, because I don't care if it chips. If I want something to look really old and ancient, like a picture frame, and I want it to match parts of the frame that are already chipped, then of course that's great. But if I want something to look good and properly outlined, I'm gonna go with IOD clay. So I got the excess trimmed off, and right now I'm just touching up the sides, getting that blue paint back on the sides. And now it's ready. The magic happens. Oh, see there, I picked her up, or picked him up, and there's part of the antler. Oh, so frustrated. And then I start thinking, well, maybe I'll just take off this other side and we'll make it have two little tiny antlers, right? We can still salvage it. Yeah. No. It didn't work. Okay, so here I'm getting this wet. You got to get the paper wet to remove the paper. And you want it to sit about 30 to 60 seconds, and that just gets it wet enough to pull the paper back, but not too wet to bring the paint with the paper. And I'm just kind of making sure that the water gets all the way through. And I'm telling you, there's other people who do this better than me. If you want an exact, precise lesson, you might want to watch their YouTube videos. So here goes the magic. And the women on YouTube, the girls always say, oh, this is so satisfying. Y'all, they're not lying. This is just watching it now when I'm doing this voiceover. It's so awesome to watch that paint just stick. I did not like this design as much as I like the other ones, and now I use this red all the time. It's kind of a coral red. So I'm picking up my little elk, and I think, oh, maybe I'll just take off these other antlers. And guess what it looks like then? A goat. I don't want a goat. And then I thought, oh, what if I make it a girl? I'll just take off the antlers all the way, and there goes part of the ear. Yeah. By this time, I'm just discouraged, and I'm thinking, yep, we're not using that anymore. So now I'm just scraping off with a razor blade the pieces of the inlay that did get in that little groove. It's okay if I scratch it a little bit because I'm painting over it. So now I'm just going to fill in that paint. At this point, you can see at the top of the screen I've chosen some transfers from IOD. I picked a toad from the entomology book and some words from the Rose Botanical book. If you haven't used IOD transfers, you must. They are amazing and they're super easy. I just put the transfer on and I rub the whole thing with the little stick it comes with, and then I pull it back as I'm rubbing it where it curves. And then after that, I take the plastic and I just kind of burnish everything, and that's it. Isn't that cute? Super easy. If you'd like to try IOD and you're in the upstate area of South Carolina, you can find them in my booth at Centerville Pickers Market in Anderson, South Carolina. If you'd like to order some online, you can check out Heather at Create Your Own Cozy. If you would like to shop someplace else in person, you can go to the IOD website and find a stockist near you. Now I'm just cleaning up the back so it will look neat. If somebody wants to put it on a table in the center of the room, it won't look icky on the back. And you guys, to do this, I just globbed that paint on, and at the end I made sure all my brush strokes went the same direction. And here we are. This is what my brain came up with during the process, and I just can't believe how cute it is. I love everything about this. Can you see that rounded part underneath the paint inlay? That's where the moon was, and I'm so pleased. It just is as cute as it could be. I love the words, everything about it. I wish I could keep this, but my husband says I can't keep everything. Ugh. So into the shop she will go. If you would like to see this or any other cute things I made, you can check my stuff out at Centerville Pickers Market in Anderson, South Carolina. I didn't mention this before, but this is my very first real YouTube video where I made some different videos and pieced them together and edited them with a voiceover. So what do you think? Let me know in the comments. Be honest, I can take it. And if you liked it, please give me a heads up and consider following my channel. You guys, it's not for me, it's for you. Because someday I'm going to be a big YouTube star, and you want to be able to say, hey, I was there in the beginning. Thanks so much for joining me. I'll see you next time.